Hey, what's going on, everybody? So right now we are entering the time of the NFL offseason where it's a pretty quiet, dead time. It's currently June 22nd. Packers training camp starts July 27th. So we have a period of time where not much news is coming out. Nothing is really happening. So I figured we would take a look at the players who are going to be free agents, unrestricted free agents, after 2022. So these are 12 different players who could potentially be gone after the 2022 season. As we know, each year, the Packers have to make some hard decisions and let certain players go because with the salary cap as it is, we can't keep every single player. So now, in this video, I basically want to look ahead to see who are the guys who are going to be free agents after this year, just to sort of prepare us for what is to come, players who could get extensions maybe during the season, maybe sometime in the offseason, and players who could be released by the Packers. If you guys are new here, I put up Packers content every single day, so stay tuned. I'll be covering the Packers through this dead period. I'll find things to talk about. And then, of course, when training camp starts, I'll be coming in with training camp updates, all the things like that. So if you want to see that, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel down below. First off, we have Adrian Amos, safety for the Packers, who has been a very, very solid contributor for the Packers the past 3 years after coming from the Chicago Bears, coming to Green Bay. And one crazy stat about Adrian Amos that I found here. According to PFF, Amos has the best coverage grade in the NFL since 2018. So there's no question that Adrian Amos has been a very big key asset on this defense. Also having safety Darnell Savage alongside Amos has allowed this Packers defense to play pretty well on the back end there of the secondary. And when we look at Amos, he is currently 29 years old, so the Packers will have to decide, do they want to sign a player who's getting a little bit up there in age? Not saying he can't still be productive, but as players tend to get older, their production tends to drop off at some point, so the Packers will have to consider that when they decide if they want to bring back Adrian Amos. Luckily, the Packers did exercise Darnell Savage's fifth-year option a little bit earlier in this offseason, meaning he will be under contract for 2023, where before that option was exercised, there was a chance Darnell Savage would have also been a free agent after this year. So they have at least locked up Darnell Savage, meaning that if for some reason the Packers decide to not bring back Adrian Amos, at least we have one of those safety spots filled, and we'll have to fill it with someone else. Now moving on to the second guy, we have Allen Lazard, who did sign a second-round tender in the past few weeks. There was that question as to why isn't he signing it? Is he trying to get a long-term deal done? Maybe he just wanted to not have to show up to mandatory minicamp. We don't know because those things aren't always made public. But he will be a free agent after this year. And the wide receiver position has been a huge topic this entire year. And after the season ends, things could be a lot different. We're going to see which receivers come in, which receivers produce. And I do think Allen Lazard, if he can come in this year with all the opportunity that is here, with Devontae Adams gone, with Marquez Valdes-Scantling gone, if Allen Lazard can come in and put up some wild stats this year, if he can come in and show that when he is that number one option, he can come in and produce, I think there's no doubt in my mind the Packers will come in and give him some kind of long-term extension. I think he's just the kind of player the Packers really, really love. Matt LaFleur always talks about his blocking ability. Allen Lazard is willing to, put in that dirty work, those blocking snaps, and then he comes in, gets those contested catches, is a very productive receiver as well. And so I think the Packers, he's a guy I really want to see the Packers keep. I would be very sad if Lazard ended up not being a Packer. But if I had to say my gut, I think the Packers will give him some kind of extension sometime in the future. Who exactly knows when it is? Maybe next offseason. Now the third player, we have Jarran Reed, who has yet to play a snap for the Packers. He was one of the offseason additions added from the Chiefs. We signed him to a one-year, $3.5 million contract this offseason. And he hasn't really been super productive the past few years. He was definitely more productive a little bit earlier in his career, where he started in Seattle back in 2016. But he still was a player who played a majority of snaps for the Chiefs. So the Packers do have a solid, I'd say, defensive lineman here. We'll see if he can produce. If we look back at 2021, he only had 3 sacks, but a year before that, 2020, he had 9 sacks. So he is a interior defensive lineman who can rush the passer. So hopefully we can see that 2020 sack production for this Packers defensive line. And then now sticking with the defensive line, we have Dean Lowry, who back in July of 2019 signed a 3-year, $20 million contract with the Packers, meaning now this will be his final year on that 3-year contract that he did sign. Dean Lowry has played around 600 to 700 snaps in the past few seasons for the Packers. In this past year in 2021, we saw a huge spike in his production. He went from around the same snaps in 2020 and 2021, but he went from 19 pressures in 2020 to 42 pressures in 2021, from 3 sacks in 2020 to 6 sacks in 2021. And the defensive line has been an area the Packers have really bolstered this offseason. Already, we just spoke about Jarran Reed, who the Packers added, but then also using one of our first-round picks on Devontae Wyatt, defensive lineman from Georgia. there is a lot more talent there on the D line. And so it clearly depends on how Jarran Reed plays, how Dean Lowry plays, how Devontae Wyatt plays. That will definitely factor into the Packers' decision for potentially signing someone after this offseason. Do they keep Dean Lowry around for longer? Do they let him go because Devontae Wyatt could come in there and be a solid contributor? They'll have to make those kinds of decisions, and always with the salary cap, you have to make some hard decisions. So we'll see what happens there. Now, here is, I think, the most important free agent that will be a free agent after the 2022 season, and that is offensive lineman Elton Jenkins. So right now, Elton Jenkins is still healing from that ACL tear, which David Bakhtiari as well, still healing from an ACL tear, which is unfortunate. But Elton Jenkins has been a player, one of the best picks by Brian Gutekunst, a second-round draft pick, meaning he is not eligible for that fifth-year option, which only first-round picks are eligible for. So the Packers can't exercise a fifth-year option for Elton Jenkins, meaning that this is going to be the final year of his rookie deal. And I think just from seeing Elton Jenkins, he was a beast at left guard when he started out. And then last year we saw just how good he can be at left tackle as well. We've seen him play center. He's a very, very versatile offensive lineman. And I think there's no question that the offensive line, if your line can't block, if you don't have players out there who can come in, protect your quarterback, then you're not going to have much success on offense. So I think to continue to keep this line solid for years and years to come, the Packers need to give Elton Jenkins a long-term extension, which is going to be expensive. If we look at the top guards in the market, it's around $16 million per year. Top tackles around $23 million per year. And I do expect Elton Jenkins to be paid as a tackle because he can, play tackle at an elite level. And I doubt the Packers are going to have a problem when it comes to seeing him as that tackle, because you'd have to assume Elton Jenkins and his agent, know that he can play tackle. And so if the Packers weren't willing to pay him that, there has to be some other team out there that would be willing to do that. So I think the Packers will come in, and I don't think they're going to mess around too much with Jenkins. The thing is, though, they need to come in, make sure that he is completely healthy whenever he does return and start to play, make sure that he is still playing at that elite level. Because sometimes players, when they have that ACL tear, don't come back to be completely as good as they used to be. I think he'll be completely fine considering he is young. I think he'll bounce back, but I do feel the Packers will give him that deal. They could also franchise tag him, which would cost around $17 million. That is an option. But I just hope the Packers come in and say, you know what, we're going to pay Elton Jenkins. We're not going to mess around here. Let's just give him his money, which I hope the Packers do. Then sixth here, we have Mercedes Lewis, who has spent the past 4 years in Green Bay after spending the majority of his career in Jacksonville. And he has been a very, very solid, run and pass blocker for this Packers defense. Put some receiving stats out there, not crazy numbers, but he is a very, very crucial blocker. He is getting up there in age, and who knows how much longer he wants to play. Maybe he retires after this year. Who knows? So there's another decision. And then sticking with tight end, we have Robert Tonyan, who is going to be a free agent after this season. He is still also dealing with an ACL tear from last year. Hopefully he'll be back and be able to return to his prior, great production as he had back in 2020, where he scored 11 touchdowns. If we do look to 2021 before his injury, he wasn't quite as productive at that time, had 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. But I think when you look at the receivers that are here in Green Bay, the guys who still have to build trust, once Robert Tonyan comes back, there's a guy for Rodgers that he can trust. He knows that in certain situations, with the time he spent with Tonyan, with the history they have together, he is going to be, I think, like a safety blanket for Aaron Rodgers. And so hopefully he can come back as quickly as possible with that ACL tear. And then we have Sammy Watkins, who is going to be a free agent after this year. We gave him a 1-year contract. So depending on how he performs this year will clearly affect the kind of contract he gets, or if he gets another contract. If he comes in, stays healthy, and produces for this offense, maybe the Packers decide to say, okay, you know what, Sammy Watkins, you played great this year. We want you back once again. And if that is the case, why not give him some kind of contract? I don't know how much you're going to pay him. He is getting a little bit older. But then on the other hand, if he comes in, is very injured, doesn't produce, then I think the Packers would just let him go. So we'll see how Sammy Watkins plays. Another receiver, Randall Cobb, about to be 32 years old. And I think one thing with Randall Cobb, we saw last year, Cobb came to Green Bay because that's what Aaron Rodgers wanted. It seemed to be one of the things that was going to make Rodgers return to Green Bay during that time when we didn't know, exactly what Aaron Rodgers was thinking. Does he want to return? Is he going to retire? Is he going to get traded a while back? And Randall Cobb was one of the people that Rodgers, with them being pretty much best friends, he wanted him in Green Bay. He has that trust factor. He has that friendship. And we saw last year before Cobb got injured that on those crucial big downs, third down situations, Rodgers trusts Cobb like no one else because of the history that they have together. And so I think it does depend on Aaron Rodgers a little bit, because We don't know when Rodgers is going to retire. Is it possible after this year? It's possible. Could it be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? Possibly. So part of me wonders if Rodgers were to say, you know what, after 2022, I'm retiring. Would Randall Cobb say, you know what, it's been a good run. Maybe I'll retire too? I honestly don't know, because I do think if Aaron is gone, I'm not sure if the Packers would bring back Cobb. Maybe they would, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see there. Another uncertainty there. And then we have Mason Crosby, who is going to be turning 38 this season. Struggled a little bit last year, a little bit more than usual. Partly could have been due to the just the overall not great special teams unit. Hopefully this year we'll take a step forward with Rich Bisaccia here, which I hope will happen. And so we'll see there. I don't know how long Mason Crosby wants to play. Someday he's probably going to retire. Will it be after this season? I honestly don't know. I don't know what he's thinking, but he is going to be your free agent. And then two final ones here. We have Keyshawn Dixon, corner, who was added from the Raiders this offseason. And when we look at the Packers cornerback situation right now, the top three were pretty much locked for the next few years. We have Rasul Douglas under that 3-year contract signed earlier this offseason. We have Jair Alexander, who just signed a 4-year, $84 million contract. And then we have Eric Stokes, who is only entering his second year. And of course, most rookies get a four-year deal, if not all rookies get a 4-year deal. So he's only entering his second year. So for the next 2, 3, 4 years, the Packers are pretty much stocked at cornerback. Pretty much 3 years, I guess, with Rasul Douglas's 3-year contract and Eric Stokes' 3 years left on his deal. So we'll see if Keyshawn Dixon can come in and maybe be the fourth corner on this roster. There is definitely some competition going on there. And maybe Keyshawn Dixon can come in there and provide some great depth. And who knows, with injuries, maybe he'll need to play more. We don't exactly know. Also, could be a special teams piece. And then to end it off here, we have former Packers 7th-round draft pick entering his final year of his rookie contract, Ty Summers, who has mainly been a special teams player, even though he technically is a linebacker. Last year, he only played 29 defensive snaps, but played 270 special teams snaps in 2021. So if that stays the same in 2022, which I expect it would, for him to mainly play special teams, who knows? Maybe the Packers want to bring him back to say, you know what, he's a very good special teams player. We want him back. Maybe they won't. Who knows? So those are the 12 players who are going to be unrestricted free agents, and we'll see which players the Packers decide to keep, who they decide to give contracts to. We don't know. Maybe some will happen during the season. We'll have to wait and see there. But that is all I have for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always. Drop a like on the video if you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.